Hello, everyone. You are listening to the C Squared podcast with Corey and Curtis. Our guests today are Book of Worms. They are back again for the second time. We're super excited to have them back. And we're going to be going over image and branding because let's face it, they have an awesome one. But before we get started, I just want to thank both of you for joining us again and putting up with our shenanigans and tomfoolery.
Of course, thank you for inviting us back. Like, it's really cool to get to be invited to do stuff. I think that's one of the really cool parts of what we've been up to.
Yeah, thank you for having us. We're stoked to be here.
Well,
Cool.
and for anybody who missed the last one, do you want to just give like a brief, like little tiny breakdown of who you guys are and what you guys do? And they can get the long version by going back and listening to the other one.
Yeah, we're Book of Worms from Richmond, Virginia. We call ourselves space metal. Obviously there's some of the stoner doom thing in there, but we try to keep it lively with grunge and new wave of British heavy metal and whatever else we can think of to throw in there at the same time. We have our third record out on Desert Records, Occult New Age, and we just started booking some shows for the fall. So we know nothing we can announce yet, but pretty soon we'll have a neat little show tour flyer and everything. So it's a good time to be a worm.
Good time to be a worm. I love it. Okay, so now let's start with the main subject. So we're going to talk about image. But the very first thing that we want to discuss is, how did you guys decide on your genre?
Well, I guess we were kind of just looking for something psychedelic and something that originally we were thinking about having like Appalachian roots and kind of be like kind of soulful and like old timey at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I guess a really big touch point early on would have been like All Them Witches. We kind of thought we'd end up sounding like that, but just with the drummer that we ended up with, and then the riffs we started writing, it was like, oh no, like it doesn't really sound like that, and it would be stupid to be like, well, that's what we thought we were going to be, so we should try and do that. It was like, no, we're having fun with these new riffs, and then like, I don't know, it gets less important to call yourself something once you've been out for a while, because you have like your music and your shows and everything to show people. But when you're first starting, all you have is what you're calling yourself.
Yeah.
And it kind of sucks because it can bite you in the ass. Like, everything got thrown into the category of doom. And
Mm-hmm.
understandable. I mean, it just means you like Black Sabbath, but like it can mean anything from like that band Sun to Orchid to whoever, Primitive Man. So like, it's not really a useful descriptor, but everybody got put in it, and it's cool. It's like a scene and everything, and it's great. But then there's other people that are like, oh man, I don't like doom because it's like, name one of those bands I mentioned, and they don't like that one, and so like they think that, I don't know. So it's all just in the eye of the beholder, and like you don't have control over it. Which is why just like a nice vague one like space metal has worked pretty good, because it just sort of it encapsulates what we're trying to do without, like, I don't know, getting pigeonholed as much. And again, it's all just like you just keep learning over and over that everything's in the eye of the beholder. And so like no matter what you thought you were doing, like it's going to get taken a different way. And so you just kind of roll with it. Like, I mean, I love playing with doom bands. I love like, doom fans. It's like the awesomest thing. And we definitely have doom parts and songs and all of that. But I guess we gravitated towards calling ourselves space metal just because like we don't want to feel any pressure to be one thing.
Yeah. Well, one question, I don't know if you guys can really answer this or not, is I mean, you guys also get tagged as like stoner metal, stoner rock at the same time. What do you think would be the difference between like stoner rock, stoner metal, and doom metal? I'm not really sure, so I'm kind of asking you guys.
I'm not. Well, I've been a student of that for like decades now. Like that's just always been like the thing, because like you're like, wait, what is this band, stoner doom, or are they just doom, or I don't know. Like the best way to describe it would be to like kind of just identify some bands that are like one thing or the other, like, you know, Cathedral and Candlemass are just doom, you know, it's grandiose and all of that. And then way over on the other side, maybe Fatso Jetson and like Fu Manchu, you would call stoner. And so it's like, I don't know, they're both really loud and distorted, and they both like pot, which is where it's weird. It's like, that's the stupidest part about stoner. Like, dude, everybody, like, from like Bob Dylan, like in like 63, like you could call everything stoner. So I don't like that. It's also not fun to be like, hey mom, I'm in yeah, I got on these cool charts, but it's the stoner, like stoner numbers, and like, what is stoner? So it's like but so I guess stoner seems like it's brighter and a little more West Coasty, and doom is more like East Coasty or even European with like more leather. And I don't know. I just really don't know the difference. Everybody has giant amps and we're all like playing power chords. So
Totally.
yeah. I guess I don't know. It's confusing as heck to me, because like if we're all worshiping Black Sabbath, they had fast parts and major key parts and acoustic parts too. So I don't get it. Like, you know, it's kind of just a way to group things for, you know, booking and shopping, but in the real world, I don't know if the distinctions matter that much.
Cool. Corey, do you have a comment on what the distinction would be as a journalist? Because I'm curious to hear your thoughts, because I legitimately don't know, other than maybe the focus on weed. I don't know.
Well, maybe the focus on weed, and also some of the branding between stoner and doom, like they brought up, is one is definitely brighter, brings in more color. One is a lot darker. The subject matter is often darker, and it just really comes down to kind of aesthetic over sound almost. I mean, there are sound differences, but the aesthetic is really what separates the two.
Cool.
It's almost like, I don't know, you could make a big Venn diagram or like a gradient and just throw all the bands on it, from like all the way on the left, like, I don't know what a 10 out of 10 for stoner would be, and then all the way on the right, whatever a 10 out of 10 for just like pure doom would be, like Disembowelment from Australia or something, where it's just like 90 minutes of just getting like punished by like slow riff. That's way over there on the like balance is all the way over there. And then way over on the left, like I said, like Yawning Man or Fatso Jetson, something like just like that was obviously from like the desert of California. And then most of the bands are somewhere on that gradient or that Venn diagram of it.
Yeah, it's a bit rough at times to distinguish, which is why I asked. But since none of us know, I guess I'll just move on to the next question. So just with genre wise, so you kind of call yourself space metal, just to wrap up on the genre question. So how do you kind of describe space metal when you're advertising yourself? Because that's not a common name for a genre.
Right. It's not, and that's kind of a cool part about it, is it grabs the attention. Like,
cool.
You know, people could be like, oh, okay, because like if you say, I mean, like even if you love doom or stone or whatever, like that's probably the like 10th or 20th email with that in the descriptor that you got that day. So and that wasn't really intentional, but it ended up being like kind of a bonus. I think it sticks out a little more. I think really it was just heavy metal and space rock. And I don't think we overthought it too much. It's just it's like space rock but heavier. So there's no like cleverness to it other than like not overthinking it. It was, I think it's always important to keep your syllables down and try and avoid as many of the prefaces and postfixes, you know. So like if you can stay away from your protos and your cores and all of those things, because none of those really mean much, and it's just adding syllables. So I don't know, it was quick, and it was, you know, kind of simple. Even if you don't know what it means, you can kind of extrapolate, like, oh, maybe they like Pink Floyd and Black Sabbath, and it's like, yeah, we do like both of those, come see our band. So yeah.
No, I get it. Corey, do we have anything else to go over on genre before we go on the next one?
on the whole space metal thing, do you guys find yourself like getting a lot of inspiration from what people would consider like nerdy things, and that's what kind of brought about the space side of things beyond just, Pink Floyd and Black Sabbath, but like old sci-fi and that kind of stuff?
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
And we've always leaned into that. That first record was called Sci-Fi Fantasy.
Mhm.
Second record was called Remythologizer, which was a really kind of obscure reference to the Lord of the Rings. Like that was considered like the remythologizing of England, because like they had like their like mythological past, and then he remythologized. So I mean, yeah, we've always really leaned into nerdiness, like Doctor Strange comics, and Anne McCaffrey, Riders of Pern, and other fantasy stuff like that, and yeah, sci-fi. But we're not like, a lot of people get really cute with it, and like you think you have to be super obscure with all your references and dig super deep to show that you like really get the lore, and you're not just like, excuse me, the lore, and you're not just a tourist or whatever, and that's cool. But that would be really limiting, and it's like, oh, we gotta like show that we know this stuff or whatever. So no, I mean, we'll just like, if there's a neat phrase that we see when we're doing something, we'll just grab from there and build our own thing around it. And like,
Mhm.
there's not over there writing stuff that's like super faithful to the canon of some series or whatever, but we'll take inspiration from it.
Cool. So let's go over, now that we're done genre, I think, right, Corey?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay. Now that we're done on genre, so now let's talk image here. So you guys got okay, so you call yourself space metal. You guys got fantasy elements and stuff like that. So how do you kind of like establish a cohesive image to go along with the music, I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
I think honestly we just kind of stay true to our own style and just kind of with what we like and what we feel like doing in the moment. And sometimes we're inspired by like really vintage like retro stuff from the 70s, and I don't know, we can find some cool stuff in thrift stores and stuff like that for the stage. And like Jay's outfit or whatever, I found the pants he's wearing, and
Yeah,
like
those are awesome.
Thank you.
and also it's really important to be comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't, like, I don't know, you can tell when somebody doesn't feel great in their clothing, so
Yeah.
that's important too.
Yeah, I think unfortunately the answer is going to be consistency over a long period of time, and that's not going to be fun for anyone to hear. But that's the answer to almost every how-to question. Um, there's a cat fight going on next to us, but so
Mhm.
I think, really just being yourself, and like over a long period of time is where a lot of that comes from. I think one thing that's worked for us is that we're not afraid to show that we're excited about stuff. A lot of people, in order in being cool and everything, you're not supposed to like get really stoked about stuff. You've seen something that's cooler than that before, and like bad stuff going on in the world that you got to remember. And like, yeah, I agree, but you know, we're gonna get really really excited about a video of a wombat, or like, there's a new kind of moss in the yard. Let's go out there and investigate. Like, and you can't
Okay,
fake.
if people aren't getting excited about videos of wombats, there's something wrong, because
Yeah,
wombats are awesome.
Exactly.
I don't want to be a part of a genre. I think that would be the real distinction, as opposed to doom and stoner, is pro wombat or wombat ambivalent. Because I don't think anybody would be anti wombat, but like people who don't care about wombat, that's like, maybe that's doom, is if you don't care about a wombat at all. But yeah, I think like people can sense if you're not being sincere. Yeah, unfortunately, I think the answer, at least for us, thankfully, has been like, be yourself for a really long amount of time. And
Don't be afraid to be embarrassed yourself too. Like,
yeah,
don't be afraid to not look cool. Like,
yeah,
I think there's a lot is tied into looking cool, and that's cool to an extent, but like,
Yeah.
we're real people.
Yeah, we have a sense of humor about all of it, like, so we know that we're on there and we're promoting, and so like there's an awareness that we're on there promoting ourselves, and there's an awareness that we're like not badass bikers or anything like that. We're just like, kind of quiet nerdy folk that like to make metal, and so we've just kind of we've leaned into all of that. And I mean, it's social media, so you're going to be doing sort of your best of, like, so we're not posting like, hey, we had a crappy day and we're really mad and all of that, but you're finding like, so you're showing the positive sides of everything. But yeah, again, just over time, being genuine, I guess what the image is what it's going to be. And again, it goes back to that eye of the beholder thing. Like, it doesn't completely matter what you put out there, because it's going to be received differently anyway.
So let me ask you guys, I guess this is probably more directed to Sarah, since Sarah runs the socials mainly. So how do you ever post anything where you're kind of concerned that it's not on brand for Book of Wyrms, or do you not give a fuck and you just do whatever?
Yes, I do sometimes. Like, I can sometimes not have a filter, and so I may post a tweet or something that maybe was a little bit shocking, and sometimes it's like, okay, maybe I should go back and like dial that back a little bit or delete that tweet, something. That's okay. Like, it's okay to do that, and I don't beat myself up for it, because what's important is being spontaneous and going with, what's really got you excited for the moment.
Cool. So there's no concern on the filter aspect of things ever.
Whoa.
I mean, most of that's before it ever gets out. Like, and thankfully that we live together. So like, if it's something, one of us isn't super sure about, it's not that hard to just be like, hey, is this maybe a little too far? And then also somebody at the house that you can like yell it to. Like, I'll be like, hey, I was gonna post this, but I shouldn't, and like tell her like the like fucked up take I have, and then it's out of my system and I don't have to post it or whatever. So
cool. Corey, what?
I do that with you, Curtis, where I want to post this thing, but I won't. And I just get it out of my system by sending my whatever fucked up thought was in my head.
Yeah, just typing it out like that it's like a great thing. Like, type it out and then delete it. Make sure you don't accidentally post it. And
I posted it. I posted weird shit by accident. Back like, oh fuck, I posted it.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about you, man. You post them. You just like you drop it. Yeah.
I do, but sometimes I stick my foot in my mouth and then I gotta like go back. I should tell you guys a story about a tweet I sent out one time that lost me 40 followers. I'm not going to repeat it on here, but I will tell you guys one of these days.
Oh wow, I can't wait.
I want to hear that.
That's exciting.
Just remind me into the podcast, and I will freely tell you the story about Curtis sticking his foot in his mouth accidentally. What else do we want to talk about social media, Corey?
I think I'm good on my end.
Cool. What about you guys? You guys good on social media before I move on to the next one?
Yeah.
I guess I would just say never complain online. Like, they're not going to do anything. Like, if you were to talk about something that's not on brand, hopefully complaining's not on brand for whoever you are. Like, so just remember that if you're about to complain online, man, this is not helping anybody and nobody cares.
And sometimes if you're not sure about something, I'll like be like, hey, I'm gonna write this, and in an hour, if I still feel like posting it, I think I'll post it.
I think that's very good advice. That is very good advice. Okay, so with image, I think we've talked about what we wanted to on that. So now art is what we want to talk about next. So how do you guys kind of figure out the art to make sure it's in line with the image?
Well, I guess all of our art has been this one artist, Tara Phillips. And so we found her right when we were starting out on Instagram, and she just has really dug our concept, and we've just kind of really vibed with her. We'll like tell her like song titles and things like that, and she comes up and maybe some physical like images we're thinking of, and like what, you know, maybe, and she comes up with all these ideas, and then we'll say, oh, this one looks cool, we like this one, and then she really goes to town and really just does her thing, and it really works out amazingly. We're just
Yeah.
So
We've been really lucky that way, that we had one artist we liked with her own really distinctive style from the first release till now. So I don't know, that's not something everybody's going to be able to, like I said, we're really lucky with that, but that's been a huge part of our image, is that we've had the same cover artist from soup to nuts, you know. I'm trying to think, like Roger Dean with Yes is the only one I can, you know, think, I guess what's his face for Black Flag, maybe. I can't remember his name off the top of my head, but the guy that lived in the house with Greg Ginn and Henry, and just sat on the couch drawing all day every day. But like, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's a great thing if you can get it, just have somebody all the way through. If you can't, I would maybe make sure, like in your initial conversations with a new artist, show them what your last one is. Be like, look, you don't have to do the same thing as this, but you know, we're trying to have like an aesthetic. Can you use this as one of your many inspirations, and we're really super cautious about giving too much direction to the artist. You know, you're getting an artist because they're the artist. So we'll do like a couple tiny little things, like here's the song titles. I think for that one, Remythologizer, where it's got a Pegasus flying up off of the planet. You know, a combination of some of the lyrics Sarah wrote, and then the album art from Bad Out of Hell and Afterburner by ZZ Top, where like you've got like something breaking out. So I mean, and that's all we told the artist was like, yeah, there's a song about a Pegasus. If you're gonna have one, I think maybe she even drew the Pegasus, and we were like, oh, can you make it more like Afterburner? So I mean, Undead Pegasus, yeah. So it is important. It's like important. It actually is, because like it's kind of gross. It's like rotting, and yeah, the Pegasus. So it's like this triumphant thing, but then when you look closer, it's like got bones and rotting flesh and everything. So it is a whole thing. But again, like hyper direct, we just let the artist, beyond those couple of things, do what she wanted.
You know, I didn't really realize until you mentioned it, like how gruesome the Pegasus was, and I just kind of looked right now, because I never really thought about it, and now I blew it up, and I was like, oh yeah, it's pretty fucking gruesome. I never really even thought about it, but yeah, okay,
yeah,
cool,
yeah,
cool.
So, yeah, I mean, I think that's a good point that just got made in real time. I was just like, oh yeah, the Pegasus, because like in my mind, of course, it's undead. Like I'm taking it for granted.
Yeah.
But she made sure that was out there also, and it made the third party go in and realize it. So yeah, like I guess focusing on some of those details is important.
Okay, so before I let Corey ask a question, because I know I've been hogging this, but one last thing I want to ask about the art. So are you guys trying to go almost for like a horror aesthetic at times? Because it almost seems that way with like the skulls and shit on the new one. You got the Undead Pegasus. I don't remember what the first cover looked like. I have to look, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Dragon.
I mean,
that's not very intentional. I think we like to have some ominous, kind of scary, but scary images that are kind of also like skulls are really just kind of like timeless, and
yes.
and everybody, I don't know, thinks of this something similar kind of when you look at a skull, and so I don't know.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, that's also where the metal part of the band comes in. You know, we're heavy metal and dead stuff, and like horror, and you know that it's all over in literature. It's like a big, you know, hodgepodge over there. You know, there's horror elements in your sci-fi. There's sci-fi elements for horror. So yeah, there's definitely all of the like cool speculative fiction elements are going to be in there. But then like anytime you're talking about the occult or mysticism, you know, death images are going to be pretty prevalent. I think Carolyn came up with the skulls on her own. Like that was just one of the things she sent us, and we were like, dude, these skulls are great. This is amazing. So, you know, and she's always kind of done the phantasmagoric elements. But I think it all just goes hand in hand with psychedelia, like in like a lot of that stuff. There's always been, you know, morbidity and death obsession in your surrealism and your Art Nouveau, and so I mean it's just in there.
Cool. Corey, you want to do the next one?
Oh yeah. And so so image obviously goes into every step that you take with your, you know, your social media presence, your art, but does it also work into like your merchandise and how you select what you're going to do beyond, like, you know, everybody does band t-shirts, but do you do specific merch or take your image into consideration when you're selecting your merch?
A little bit. I mean, our Chris, our drummer, like one time he took it upon himself to get these dugouts. It's like, you know, the little wooden dugout where you put a little one hitter for your marijuanas in, like the little fake metal cigarette, and then the other portion I guess holds ground up substance. And says Book of Wyrms, like he had them burned in. I can talk freely about this now. It's legal. It's just weird to be able to like discuss it freely. But like, and when he did it, we were like, dude, nobody's gonna want these. What are you doing? Like, but they sold out. Like everybody liked them. I guess that's an example of it. The one thing with those was I heard that the one hitter was really short and you could burn your eyebrows. Is what I heard. So you had to watch out for that, or your eyebrows could get singed, I heard. But so that was an example of that. I mean, I'll admit we're not super creative with our merch. I mean, like the designs we get on our shirts are awesome, but we're not one of the bands that's like thinking of like, oh, that's brilliant. They made sun visors for your mom, like that have the band logo on it, or I don't know. People come up with amazing merch ideas, and we should, but our energy's just been elsewhere. So yeah, shirts and stickers mostly. But
we're working on it.
We're working on it. As far as like, you know, the logos and stuff, we've always, you know, I wish we could have had a consistent logo from the beginning, like a really distinctive one, but we've had a lot of fun doing a few different logos with a few different artists. Yeah. So our merch game isn't as strong as maybe some of the other elements of our stuff, but you know, we're learning.
I had to Google what a one hitter was. I had no idea what the fuck you were talking about. So now I fully understand. Do we got anything else on merchandise, Corey?
I think I'm good on my end. Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, okay. Well, let's go a little bit more into merchandise for a second here. So what would be some merch that you guys want to do that you guys think would fit into the Book of Wyrms branding, other than like pipe type stuff, obviously, like that, because everybody does that.
Mug would be kind of cool.
Cool.
I always push for bands to do mugs.
Mugs, yep.
Mugs. A sour beer. We've talked about. She and I have talked about that one a lot. It would be you know, those sour gummy worms. It would be like sour worm beer or whatever. Because we both just really like sour beers. So I don't know if any brewers are listening and want to whip up a batch. So that would be a cool one. I think I'm trying to think of some other ones. I think beanies would be awesome. They're kind of pricey. We thought, this is an interesting note, we thought baseball tees would end up being more popular than they were. We got baseball tees and we thought they'd fly off the shelves, but people, you know, we've sold out of like multiple runs of black t-shirts since we got the baseball tees, which is crazy because I love them. I think they're like the most comfortable shirts in the world. So yeah, again, we're not very creative. We don't know what would be merch.
Fair enough. Let me just think if there's anything else I want to ask you guys about merch. Oh, I know. What type of merch has sold the best for you guys?
That's a good question.
You would know. I don't.
I guess t-shirts really are the best, like the number one, like just kind of consistent. Everybody wants one, that kind of thing.
Yeah, t-shirts are great. Everybody wants one, and then even people who don't really want one, like come to the show and like just want to be nice, and like that's the item they're most likely to be like, oh yeah, let me just grab one of these since I'm here.
And we give stickers out for free, so that's always fun to have.
Yeah,
cool.
we try and just let people have stickers, because I mean, if they put them up somewhere, that's, you know, free advertising for you. I don't know. I see people charge for stickers, and I get it, but especially because some stickers, like we did the holograph stickers, which was really cool, and you know, people love them. But again, I just think it's better to give them out and have people supporting your stuff.
I agree 100%. So I think we're out of questions and almost out of time, unless Corey has a different question she wants to ask as a final one by chance.
Let's see. No, I think we've covered everything already.
Yep. I actually have one more thing I just want to say is I want to plug the band Book of Wyrms. You can go find them at bookofwyrms.bandcamp.com, correct?
Yeah,
And then Sarah, what's the Twitter handle again? Is it just Book of Wyrms?
Book of Wyrms.
Cool. And then is there anything else you guys want to plug before we end off?
We also have cassettes on Stoner Witch Records.
That's right.
So they're available now. The vinyl is right now is on pre-order, but you can at Bandcamp, but you can get the CDs now. And download. Now.
Yeah, the pressing got pushed back, you know, out of our control to October. But they're on their way. Yeah.
Oh wow, that sucks.
That's
We
been
announced,
happening to everybody.
Yeah, I didn't realize that with you guys. Wow. So people can buy the CD and they can buy the tape now, but the vinyl still on pre-order till October.
Exactly.
That's right, yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Still doing it, people. They're awesome.
Yeah, buy it and buy the tape. You can get that on Bandcamp as well. Other than that, any other final words from you guys?
just, well, we want to thank you, both of you again, for your support, and congrats on the merger. It's C2 looks awesome. Making waves. I've that's become kind of part of my small talk when I'm talking to other musicians, like, oh yeah, you guys getting PR, and most
Nice.
people like Doer or C2 is comes up a lot. So yeah, y'all are
it's
making
really,
waves.
It's really exciting to see what you guys have going on.
Oh, well,
Nice.
thank you.
Yeah, definitely.
Cool. So with that, I'm going to say party on, Corey.
Party on, guys.
Party on.
Alrighty, adios.